Once upon a time, there was a boy and a girl who were childhood friends. One day, Kai got 2 shards of a demonic mirror stuck in his body, and his behavior has changed drastically. With one in his heart and one in his eye causing him to see the ugly side of things front and center, he grew apart from the people whom he cared about, and one day, he was taken by the Snow Queen to her ice palace. Determined to find him, the girl who was left behind, Gerda, set out on a long and perilous journey. The original Snow Queen is one of the all-time classic Christmas stories. I still remember watching it in theaters back when I was 8. Given Noelle's love for these tales, the Ice Palace potentially being an integral part of the story, and Chris being controlled through a heart-shaped object, and with eyes constantly covered, I had to ask, Toby, are you trying to tell me something?
Destiny is mine. 恐れしても全ての未来途切れぬより Should I friend of life 痛みを乗り越えるたび心は永遠に研ぎ澄まされる繰り返される宿命の最果てで光散海に近い Getting through 生きる意味は世界に残すかな Heaven's falling down 空を落としても望みを砕こう狂気の神の Destiny is mine 恐れしても全ての未来途切れぬよりどうもそのが命のきらめき
This year has barely even started for me, but before I knew it, it was already November. I wanted to wait with season 2 of my video series until the next batch of chapters came out, but with the package being trimmed and still months away, I'm once again left with much to discuss. So, consider this a season 1.5. Now, we know that Toby has been working towards an ending he saw in a dream for a decade now. It is the reason Undertale was created, and it's what will ultimately be the ending of Deltarune. Although he is concerned about whether this ending is even good or not. Honestly, I get it. Even if a game has an amazing ending, it could still feel underwhelming if you see it out of context. Unless it's Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Delacroix is in the wall, am I right, Toby? Back to the topic at hand, we barely got any information out of the newsletters, but the interview with the rest of the developers was rather interesting. Especially the part where Toby decided to read all of the lines out loud like in a theatrical play. Speaking of theater, I know that it was the Nutcracker that got a direct reference in the game, but I have some strong pieces of evidence about the Snow Queen's tale being important to the evil root in particular. By closely examining Gerda's journey, I'm going to draw a parallel to Noelle, and then try to predict where the route will go in the future. Gerda got taken in by a sorceress. The old hag wasn't evil, just overly caring, and she forced that care upon the girl. She wanted her to stay in her home and forget about Kai. That is, until one day Gerda was reminded of him by a rose, and she decided to leave. Deltarune's version of this sorceress would obviously be Queen, who seems to genuinely care about Noelle, but at the same time, tries to overrule her. While she doesn't realize that Birdly got frozen, she wants Noelle to have a long rest, and forget about whatever horrible thing has happened. What about the rose then? The rose is a beautiful flower that has thorns. That's right, it's the thorn ring. By calling out to Noelle, we caused her to swing back into the action, allowing us to seal the fountain and return to the light world. After getting some information from a crow, Gerda followed a false lead that led her to a dead end, but at least got some help to continue her search. To untangle this part of the story, we need to look at the Spampton sweepstakes on the Deltarune website. While never meeting in person, we know that Spampton saw Noelle as one of his only close friends, which makes his demise all the more tragic when you think about it. Given Noelle's past as a gamer and a glitch hunter, it would make sense for her to have an off-screen storyline in Chapter 3, where she tries to find some clues that might help her unravel the mystery. Do I imply that she will return to the Ice Palace in her game, and basically do what we theorists have been doing for the past 2 years? Yeah. I kinda forgot to mention that I've been in contact with some fellow YouTubers to exchange information, those being Mystic, Half-Bred, Andrew Cunningham, and Jaru. Guys, if you're watching this, thanks for all the help. I hope I can repay it someday. By the way, the answer to the previous question is yes. Gerda got captured by bandits, but was spared when one of them, a little girl, wanted to keep her as a playmate. This allowed her to make her escape on the back of a reindeer, after some doves informed her of Kai's location. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here with Chapter 4. For starters, I firmly believe that the rampage will continue from where we left off in Chapter 2. This time, however, one of the Delta warriors will interfere. We have two likely candidates: Caddy, if she joins early on in the chapter, or Susie could also find out what's going on. Given that Caddy's importance has already been hinted at last time, my money is on her. I also think that breaking Susie's trust and splitting up the three heroes would still be too early. A crucial piece of information will be revealed about Chris's condition, and if Rudy is involved, he would 100% help his daughter's escape. Gerda was provided shelter and directions by a Finn woman. The lady later had a conversation with her reindeer, revealing that the reason the girl made it this far is because of her pure heart and determination. If that's not enough to save Kai, then he's beyond saving. Chapter 5 will most likely take place in the Holiday residence, and will be our introduction to the mayor, whom I'm still calling Carol Holiday. This could serve several purposes. We could learn about her involvement in the Knight's case. She could find out about what happened so far, and potentially have a reconciliation with Noelle. Some fans probably assumed that Noelle's mother was abusive, but I think her blog post about the Ice Palace disproves that. The fact that she has to hold herself back from crying, and that Carol turning off the game was her biggest concern is telling. This scene actually reminded me of my first time fighting the Fume Knight in Dark Souls 2. For those of you who don't know, this boss has 4 ashen idols around his arena, and they heal him constantly. I had the foresight to destroy them beforehand, but he's still one of the game's hardest bosses, and since I challenged him right after getting through Drangleic Castle, I was severely underleveled. I was fighting him day by day, hours upon hours, and seeing just how much time I spent doing this, my parents became concerned. I still remember my mom saying, "Son, I don't want to lose you." I beat him after a few more attempts, and every swear word I've ever known came flooding out of my mouth. This one quote, however, it genuinely made me question whether or not I went too far. Gerda arrived in the Snow Queen's palace, where she found Kai half frozen, insensible, and indifferent. Thanks to her love and determination, however, she managed to reach him and get both shards of the mirror out of his body. The two kids returned home, only to realize that this adventure lasted several years, and that both of them are adults now. So, in Chapter 6, our heroes reach the Ice Palace, Noelle frees Chris from the demonic possession, and the two friends are reunited. But while in the original tale this was the end goal, in Deltarune it's just the setup for the finale, as the roaring at this point would already be upon them, or just around the corner. We still have to figure out Noelle's fate, and it's kind of a depressing one. As a full-fledged Delta warrior, Noelle will probably be this loose cannon rebel, as well as a bold and loyal companion, who gets herself into ridiculous and highly dangerous situations. This was foreshadowed in Chapter 2's normal route in the hospital, that she will be reckless, and even in pain and hardship, she'll just grit her teeth and take it. You might think that's a step too far, but her monologue after the Giga Queen fight gives us a pretty big hint at her true nature. Couple this with the fact that she would be more than happy to turn into an idiot-scented candle to keep Susie warm. And that Susie is not the only one she's willing to make sacrifices for. And I think we all know where this is going. Recently, I've once again seen some disturbing stuff trending in the community. However, things seem to be calming down since the long wait is coming to a close. As for me, with a little more time on my hands, I decided to expand a little bit, and created my very own Discord channel. I can't thank you enough for supporting me, so for all of you watching, claim your invitations in the description. As for the series, I'm now back in action, and I have something special prepared for the next episode.